Now, it hasn't been a good week for the garbage industry. Remember on Monday night, Four Corners exposed a couple of scandalous examples of rorting the system, especially in Ipswich, Queensland. But it isn't all bad news for those wanting to do the right thing. Tracy Holmes took a trip to the tip.
Now, I don't know how long it's been since you've been to the tip, but I tell you what, trash is not what it used to be.
Good morning.
Hi, how you going?
I don't know if you've got a mattress there.
Yeah.
Okay, is there only one there?
Yes, just one and some cardboard boxes.
Okay, so you have a good day.
You too,
Okay.
bye.
Bye.
Back in the 1970s, Kimbriki was your average suburban tip, the rubbish dump for residents on Sydney's northern beaches. But in the early 90s, it reached capacity, so the tip turned into a resource recovery centre. And now it's all about recycling. So this is Eco House and Garden, and you probably won't believe this, but the entire structure of the house and the landscaping is 80% from recycled goods from this tip. Let's take a look. Every modern tip needs a resident ecologist. Peter Rutherford is in hot demand. His recycling workshops are booked out until October.
I guess our core message, Trace, is that ecology, which means I'll take care of everywhere I go, if you go back to the Greek. And then we get down into more detail, like the 4 Rs, you know, recycling. Reduce, rethink, reduce, reuse, recycle, in that order. And then we get into the wet waste, like the food scraps and garden stuff, and we teach them that that's very polluting. So please do everything you can to recycle that at home through a worm farm or a compost bin.
What about people that say, haven't got the time, haven't got the room?
It is difficult for people in high-rise, but worm farms are one option that can be used in high-rise situation as long as it doesn't get the hot sun in summer. We're just looking for people to work together to solve the issue of waste.
As we've become more aware of the waste we produce and are conscious of recycling opportunities, centres like Kimbriki have made an incredible impact. More than 2 million tonnes of waste has been diverted from this landfill, more than 150,000 tonnes a year. I actually have this feeling that you think you've died and gone to heaven already.
I do. I do. I love this work. And just being around, I mean, to me, being around this sort of life, the billions of microbes and things in soil, it's healing. I don't know, I just find it's a very deep experience. And I get more and more people saying that about composting. It's more than just, you know, chucking a bit of rubbish in a bin. Yeah.
And what's the most delicious thing you've ever grown here? Probably those berries.
I think the raspberries, the native raspberries, are just so amazing.
Well, the buyback centre looks like you could actually furnish an entire house. We'll take a look at that. Plants, concrete, brick, gravel, mulch. You can pretty much do everything here. How many people would you have to deal with in a day?
In a day, it can range 50, 100 people or more people coming through, depending on the day, but generally on the weekends is the busiest.
And what are they looking for? Just general household stuff?
Just about anything you can think of, they're looking for. From sinks to like little pebbles, glass tables, we've got books, CDs, timber, we've got shelving, we've got chairs, tables, it goes on and on. Lawnmowers, whippersnippers.
Are you surprised sometimes at what people actually walk away with?
There are some things that I think are absolute rubbish and they want to buy them. So I'm always astounded. Almost every day there's something comes in a situation, I even then will shake my head, but hey, someone else's trash is someone else's treasure, isn't it? Guys, I have to say that's a good selection of sinks. Yeah. Would you like to carry it over for you?
Yes, please.
Okay, you're all welcome. No worries. Thank you. Anything else we can do for you today? Some taps, maybe?
No, I only want the drains for.
It's no rubbish tip, let me tell you. It is a mini city. You could build and furnish a house, get your kids toys, do the landscaping, pretty much everything, which is good news, Australia. Fantastic that of all the rubbish we produce, about 80% of it is being recycled at venues like this. Oh, hi Mark.
Hi Tracy.
How are you?
Good, thanks.
Yeah, good. Nice to see you.
You too. Kimbricky's a really good snapshot of the evolution of waste management in Australia. It started in 1974 and by the mid-80s it was getting close to being at capacity. But then innovation in recycling stepped in the early 90s and the recycling rate has increased exponentially ever since. So we like to think that the site will probably be here for another 100 years to serve the local area.
So the ultimate plan is to be able to use as much waste as possible for energy, and that's already happening in some parts of the world, isn't it?
Real opportunity with wastes like mattresses and mixed waste is to extract a fraction from that we can use as a fuel substitute. It's something that can be mixed with coal and co-fired in all sorts of different facilities and manufacturing processes. It's been in place in Europe for nearly 30 years, to a lesser extent in South Australia for over 10. And the New South Wales government is pushing a waste to energy policy, which has been in place for 4 or 5 years now.
Australia sits just outside the top 10 OECD countries when it comes to recycling. The evangelists at Kimbricky think we can do better.
I think one of the other big benefits of an operation like Kimbricky is our educational component. We've been here so long that we're talking about 2 or 3 generations of people coming here. Small children come here with their parents and then they bring their children. And they all understand the ethos of Kimbricky, which is all about reduction, recovery and recycling. And in fact, I'm actually giving a sustainability presentation at my daycare on Friday to my 4-year-old and a group of 4-year-olds who are very keen to hear about what Daddy does at work.
I noticed coming in here, I mean, it's almost like a menu of services that you provide. Not only can you get rid of your rubbish, but you can buy it back again, and there are people making really good use of that.
That's right. I mean, we have a number of local community members, tradespeople, who will come into the site 3 or 4 times a week, every week, and have done for decades now. They treat the place almost as if it's their own. They're on first name basis with a number of my staff, and that relationship with these regular recurring visitors is another thing that gives us a lot of traction.
So it's a recycled hardware store.
It really is. It's like Bunnings on steroids.
So my rubbish is dumped. It's about to be recycled. Feeling pretty good about that. And that's my trip to the tip.